The shocking reason why people in old age tend to avoid others. When I turned 65, a profound shift occurred in how I viewed my relationships, my time, and my own peace of mind. For decades, I had been the person who showed up for everyone: family, friends, neighbors, even casual acquaintances. I believed it was my role to be dependable, to be there no matter what, even at the cost of my own well-being. But as the years passed, I realized something startling. Not every connection is worth maintaining, and not every person deserves a space in my life. This realization is not about bitterness or resentment. It's about wisdom. It's about reaching a stage in life where your time feels more precious, your energy feels more finite, and your peace becomes priceless. At 65 and beyond, avoiding certain people isn't a sign of giving up on relationships. It's a choice to protect the serenity that we've worked so hard to find. For anyone in their golden years who has felt the same, this isn't something to feel guilty about. It's a sign of growth, of wisdom earned through decades of experience. Let me share why so many of us in this season of life choose to step back and what it has taught me about living fully, peacefully, and authentically. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. 1. Time is more precious than ever. There comes a moment in life when you stop seeing time as something endless, something you can waste freely without consequence. When you're young, time feels abundant, like an ocean that stretches far beyond the horizon. You waste it without worry, on empty conversations, meaningless obligations, and relationships that bring you nothing but exhaustion. It isn't until later in life, when the pages of the calendar seem to turn faster, that you begin to feel how precious every moment truly is. At this stage, time feels different. It becomes a gift, not a guarantee. You wake up and realize that every day is a chance to live, to love, to connect, to savor the quiet joys you once overlooked. The mornings feel sharper, the sunsets are more beautiful, you sip your coffee, listening to the birds sing, and suddenly, that moment feels sacred. You hold a conversation with someone who truly matters, and you find yourself hanging on to every word, cherishing the sound of their laughter as though it might be the last time you hear it. This awareness changes everything. You begin to guard your time with a kind of reverence that only age can bring. You start asking yourself the hard questions. Does this bring me joy? Does this add meaning to my life? Does this align with who I am today? If the answer is no, you walk away, not out of spite, not out of selfishness, but out of a deep respect for the limited time you have left. When I was younger, I gave my time away carelessly. I said yes to every request, showed up to every gathering, and spent countless hours on relationships and commitments that drained me. I stretched myself so thin trying to meet the world's expectations that I often felt invisible. I realize now how much of my time I allowed others to take from me, time that I can never get back. But age brings clarity. It teaches you that every moment wasted is a moment stolen from something more meaningful. I now choose where to spend my time, and I choose wisely. I spend it on people who lift me up, who see me for who I am, and who bring light into my life. I spend it on moments of stillness, where I can reflect, breathe, and simply be. I no longer feel guilty for saying no, for stepping back, for choosing peace over chaos. My time is my treasure, and I will not spend it carelessly anymore. If you find yourself feeling the same, if you're noticing the weight and value of time, I want you to know it's okay. It's okay to protect your time fiercely. It's okay to choose silence over noise, simplicity over chaos, and meaning over obligation. Time is not something we can reclaim, but it is something we can honor. In this season of life, I wake up every day with gratitude. I may not know how many days I have left, but I do know this: I will spend them well. I will spend them loving my family, nurturing my friendships, finding joy in the smallest of moments, and living as fully as I can. Time is precious, because it reminds us to be present, to pay attention, and to let go of everything that does not matter. Once you learn to see time for the treasure it is, you realize that every moment holds a beauty you may have missed before. 2. Relationships evolve, and that's okay. There comes a point in life when we begin to understand that relationships are not meant to remain the same forever. When I was younger, I believed that the mark of a good person, a dependable friend, a loving family member, was to always be there. I worked hard to maintain every connection, no matter the cost. I reached out to people who didn't reach back, attended gatherings that left me feeling empty, and gave my energy to relationships that offered little in return. Back then, I saw relationships as a reflection of my worth, and letting go felt like failure. But as I've grown older, I've come to realize something profound. Relationships change because we change. The people we were 10, 20, or 30 years ago are not the people we are today, and that's okay. It's a natural part of life, not something to be feared or resented. Some relationships are meant to last a lifetime, while others are meant to teach us something for a season before fading away. I no longer see this as a loss, but as a part of my growth. I've learned to let go of the relationships that no longer fit the person I am becoming. It's not about anger, blame, or bitterness. It's about acceptance. People change, and sometimes their paths no longer align with ours. I used to hold on too tightly, trying to force connections that had long since lost their meaning. But over time, I've come to understand that it's better to release those ties than to let them weigh you down. What matters most now is the quality of the connections I choose to keep. I look for relationships that feel mutual and effortless, ones where I can be fully myself and where the other person values me, not for what I do, but for who I am. There's a quiet joy in being with people who truly see you, who bring light into your life instead of darkness. These relationships don't require constant work to keep alive. They flow naturally, built on shared understanding, respect, and care. Letting go of certain relationships hasn't always been easy. I've spent sleepless nights wondering if I could have done more, if I should have held on a little longer. But with time, I've realized that holding on to connections out of guilt or obligation only causes more harm. Life is too short to surround yourself with people who drain your spirit or make you feel small. When you release these relationships, you create space for peace, for growth, and for deeper, more meaningful bonds. Today, my circle is smaller, but it is richer. The friends and family who remain are the ones who truly matter, the ones who show up, not out of duty, but out of love. They are the people who lift me up when life feels heavy, who make me laugh when I need it most, and who simply sit beside me in quiet companionship. These connections are precious because they are real. If you find yourself mourning relationships that have faded, I want you to remember this. It's not a failure to let go. It's a sign that you are growing and evolving. Relationships, like seasons, are meant to change. Focus on the people who bring you peace, who make you feel valued and seen. Life becomes infinitely lighter when you let go of what no longer serves you. In doing so, you open the door to the relationships that truly matter, the ones that stand the test of time and fill your heart with joy. 3. Trust becomes more complex. Trust is one of the most delicate and precious gifts we can give to another person. When I was younger, I gave it freely, believing in the goodness of people and their intentions. I wanted to see the best in everyone, to believe that kindness would always be returned. And while this openness led to beautiful friendships and cherished connections, it also left me vulnerable to hurt. Over the years, I've been let down by people I trusted deeply, friends who walked away, family members who grew distant, and people who cared more about what I could give them than about who I was. Those experiences changed me. They didn't make me bitter, but they did make me careful. I learned that trust is not something to be handed out freely. It is something to be earned. Trust, Once broken leaves scars that take years, sometimes a lifetime to heal. And so, I began to protect it more fiercely, not because I stopped believing in people, but because I started believing in myself. One of the most important lessons I've learned is to trust my instincts. When something doesn't feel right, when a person's words don't match their actions, or when a connection feels one-sided, I no longer dismiss those feelings. I used to second guess myself, telling myself I was overthinking or being paranoid. But with age comes wisdom. And I've learned to listen to that quiet voice inside me that says, this isn't right. Trusting my instincts has saved me from pain and disappointment more times than I can count. I've also learned to set boundaries. There was a time when I let people take advantage of my kindness, when I allowed others to cross lines that should never have been crossed. I stayed in relationships that felt toxic because I thought loyalty meant enduring everything. But now I know that setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about protecting my peace. It's about knowing my worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. That being said, trust hasn't disappeared from my life. It has simply become more precious. I've learned to give it gradually to those who earn it through consistency, respect, and kindness. The people I trust now are the ones who have shown me over time that they are worthy of it. They are the friends who check in, not because they want something, but because they care. They are the family members who show up, not just when life is good, but when things get hard. They are the strangers whose small acts of kindness remind me that goodness still exists in the world. Trust, I've found, is not about being open to everyone. It's about being open to the right people. It's about knowing that while some will let you down, others will surprise you in the best possible ways. It's about finding a balance between guarding your heart and allowing yourself to connect. If you feel more cautious with trust as you age, know that you are not alone. It is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of wisdom. You have learned through the trials of life that trust is not something to give away lightly. You've learned that protecting your trust is a way of honoring yourself, of valuing your peace and your worth. Surround yourself with those who show you, through their actions, that they deserve your trust. And trust yourself enough to walk away from those who don't. At this stage of life, you owe it to yourself to protect your heart, to protect your peace, and to trust above all else that you are worthy of relationships that are built on love, respect, and sincerity. 4. Simplicity is the key to peace. As I have grown older, I've realized that the world has become louder, faster, and more complicated than it once was. Life seems to rush by in a blur, driven by technology, endless commitments, and a constant need to be productive. People are always on the move, but rarely do they seem to be moving toward peace. It wasn't always this way. I remember a time when life felt simpler, when families gathered naturally, without the need for planning or reminders, when neighbors were friends and conversations were heartfelt, not hurried. Back then, the joy of connection was real. We sat together, shared stories, and laughed, not because we had to, but because we wanted to. I think of those afternoons when we would sit on a porch, sipping lemonade while watching the children play. There was no need to check our watches, no urgency to leave. Life happened slowly, beautifully, and we were present for it. But now, the world is different. Technology has brought incredible advancements, video calls, instant messages, and the ability to connect with someone halfway across the world in seconds. I appreciate these tools. They allow me to see my grandchildren's faces, to reconnect with old friends I thought I'd lost. Yet something has been lost in the process. The warmth of simply being together. Nothing can replace the experience of sitting across from someone, hearing their laughter, feeling their presence, and sharing silence that feels comfortable, not awkward. It's not just relationships that have become complicated. Life itself is noisier than ever. The endless buzz of notifications, news updates, and distractions makes it harder to hear our own thoughts. Even when we're alone, the world feels too loud. In the rush to do more, achieve more, and prove ourselves, we lose sight of the simple things that bring true peace. Things that cost nothing but mean everything. In this stage of my life, I've learned to step away from the noise and embrace simplicity. I no longer feel the need to say yes to every invitation, to fill my days with activity just to feel productive. Instead, I choose to slow down. I find joy in the small, often overlooked moments. Sitting by a window and watching the rain fall. Taking a walk through the park and feeling the sun on my face. Reading a book in a quiet corner where the only sound is the turning of pages. Simplicity has become a kind of freedom. It allows me to focus on what truly matters: meaningful conversations, authentic connections, and moments of stillness that restore my soul. I no longer chase after things that don't bring me peace, relationships that feel shallow, obligations that feel forced, or distractions that steal my time. Instead, I've learned to protect the quiet spaces in my life because it is in those spaces that I feel most alive. There is a beauty in living simply. It strips away the unnecessary and leaves behind only what is real, what truly matters. I no longer feel burdened by the pressure to keep up with the world, to be everything for everyone. I live with intention, and I find peace in knowing that my days are filled with things and people that bring me joy. If you too find the world overwhelming, know that it's okay to slow down. You don't have to do more, be more, or give more to prove your worth. Sometimes, the most fulfilling life is the one lived simply, with gratitude and purpose. 5. Solitude is a gift, not loneliness. There was a time when I feared being alone. Like many, I equated solitude with loneliness, a heavy, aching feeling of being disconnected from the world. I believed that to be alone was to be unwanted, unseen, or forgotten. And so I filled my days with people, noise, and activity, hoping to avoid the silence. But as I have grown older, my relationship with solitude has changed. I've come to understand that solitude and loneliness are not the same. Loneliness is a feeling of emptiness, a longing for connection that isn't there. Solitude, on the other hand, is a choice. It is a space we create for ourselves, a refuge where we can reflect, heal, and find peace. It is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. In solitude, I've found a sense of clarity that is hard to come by in the noise of everyday life. There is a profound beauty in the quiet moments, moments where I can simply be, without the need to explain myself or fill the silence with words. I think of the evenings I spend sitting on my porch, a warm cup of tea in my hands, watching the sun set slowly over the horizon. The world feels still, and in that stillness, I find myself. I hear my own thoughts, and I feel a deep gratitude for the life I have lived. Solitude has given me the space to reflect on my past, not with regret, but with appreciation. I look back at the joys and challenges of my life and see them for what they are, lessons that have shaped me into who I am today. In solitude, I have learned to make peace with the mistakes I've made and to cherish the memories that bring me happiness. Instead of running from my thoughts, I sit with them, knowing that they are a part of my journey. This time alone has also deepened my relationships with others. By stepping back from the constant noise of social obligations, I've become more intentional with how I spend my time and with whom I share it. When I do spend time with loved ones, I am fully present, listening, laughing, and savoring every moment. Solitude has taught me that I don't need a large crowd to feel fulfilled. A quiet conversation with someone who truly knows me is worth far more than any social gathering where I feel invisible. Most importantly, Solitude has taught me to value myself. It is easy to believe that our worth is defined by how many people surround us or how busy our calendars are. But the truth is, your value comes from within. You are enough, just as you are. You don't need others to validate your worth, and you don't need to fill every moment of your life with noise to feel complete. If you've ever feared being alone, I encourage you to see solitude for what it truly is, a gift. It is a chance to reconnect with yourself, to rediscover what brings you peace and joy. It is a space to breathe, to heal, and to appreciate the quiet beauty of life. When you embrace solitude, you begin to understand that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means choosing yourself, honoring your own needs, and finding comfort in your own company. In the stillness of solitude, I have found a strength I never knew I had. I have learned that I am whole, even when I am alone. And in that wholeness, I have discovered a peace that no amount of noise or company could ever bring. If you too can embrace the quiet moments, you will find that solitude is not something to run from. It is a source of clarity, freedom, and profound joy. 6. Avoiding others is about protecting peace. There comes a time in life when you realize that not every person deserves a seat at your table, not every invitation needs a response, and not every relationship is worth the effort to sustain. This understanding doesn't come from bitterness or anger. It comes from years of living, learning, and growing into yourself. I didn't always feel this way. There was a time when I gave too much of myself to others, thinking that to be kind meant to be endlessly available. I showed up for everyone, even when it cost me my own peace. I stretched myself thin trying to be the dependable friend, the helpful neighbor, and the supportive family member until I was left feeling drained and unseen. The older I get, the more I understand the value of protecting my peace. Peace is not something the world hands you. It's something you build for yourself. And sometimes that means making difficult choices about the people you allow into your life. I've learned to recognize the signs, the relationships that leave me feeling exhausted, the conversations that drain me rather than inspire me, the people who take far more than they give. For too long, I ignored these red flags, convincing myself that loyalty meant staying, even when it chipped away at my happiness. But life has taught me otherwise. I've learned that avoiding certain people isn't cruel, it's necessary. There are those who thrive on drama, who carry negativity with them like a shadow, who never ask how you're doing, but always expect you to listen to their complaints. These are the people I've chosen to step away from, not because I don't care about them, but because I care about myself. Protecting my peace means recognizing that I don't have to carry the weight of relationships that bring me down. I don't have to be everything to everyone. There is a freedom in letting go. When you stop forcing yourself to maintain connections out of guilt or obligation, you create space for the relationships that truly matter, connections that are mutual, meaningful, and uplifting. I've found that the people who remain in my life now are the ones who care for me as I am, not for what I can offer. They are the ones who bring joy and light into my days, who make me laugh without expectation, and who simply sit with me in comfortable silence when words aren't necessary. Avoiding others doesn't mean I've shut the door on the world. On the contrary, it means I've opened the door to peace. I no longer feel the need to explain myself or justify my choices. I know what brings me joy and what doesn't, and I choose to spend my days accordingly. I no longer measure my worth by how many people surround me or how often I'm invited somewhere. My worth isn't determined by how many friends I have. It's determined by how at peace I feel within myself. If you've reached this stage of life and find yourself stepping back from certain people, I want you to know that it's okay. You're not alone, and you're not doing anything wrong. You're simply honoring the person you've become and protecting the peace you've earned. Life is too short to waste on relationships that leave you feeling empty. Choose your company carefully. And don't be afraid to walk away from anything or anyone that doesn't align with the life you want to live. In protecting my peace, I found a deeper happiness than I ever thought possible. My days are quieter now, but they are fuller, filled with the things and people that matter most. There's no drama, no noise, just a calm that feels like a warm embrace. If avoiding others is what it takes to build that peace, then so be it. I've learned that my peace is worth it, and so is yours. 7. A shared experience. There is a moment in life when you begin to wonder, am I the only one who feels this way? You step back from certain people, from obligations that once felt necessary, and you start to notice how much lighter you feel. But then the doubt creeps in. You wonder if you're being selfish or if you've simply grown tired of the world. I've been there. I've asked myself those same questions. But as I've talked to others in this stage of life, friends, neighbors, even strangers, I've realized something beautiful. This experience is not mine alone. It is shared by so many of us who have reached this season of life. For decades, we poured ourselves into others. We were the dependable ones, the helpers, the listeners. We built our lives around the needs of others, our children, our spouses, our friends, and even our colleagues. And while there was joy in that role, there was also sacrifice. We gave so much of ourselves that we sometimes forgot to save anything for us. Now, in these later years, we're learning a different lesson. It's okay to pull back. It's okay to prioritize your own peace, your own needs, and your own happiness. What's interesting is how common this realization becomes as we age. I've spoken to countless people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond who are experiencing the same shift. We've all come to understand that life isn't about the quantity of relationships we have. It's about the quality. The superficial connections that once seemed important have lost their appeal. What we crave now are the relationships that feel real. We want conversations that nourish our souls, friendships that feel effortless, and moments of connection that remind us of what truly matters. This shift isn't always easy. Sometimes it feels like letting go of parts of ourselves. Saying no to people who once relied on us can feel uncomfortable. But the truth is, we can't be everything to everyone, and trying to do so only leaves us feeling drained and resentful. By stepping back, we create space for something better, relationships that are mutual, balanced, and meaningful. When I look around at my friends and peers, I see this same pattern over and over again. We're no longer interested in chasing approval or meeting unrealistic expectations. We've reached a point where we know what matters to us, and we're not afraid to live accordingly. For some, that means embracing solitude. For others, it means strengthening the bonds that have stood the test of time. For many, it means stepping away from relationships that no longer bring peace. If you've ever felt this way, I want you to know that you're not alone. This experience is shared by so many of us who have walked a long road and learned hard but valuable lessons. It's not about shutting the world out. It's about finding clarity, peace, and a sense of purpose in this stage of life. We've earned the right to live intentionally, to focus on what brings us joy, and to let go of what doesn't. Life at this age is about freedom. Freedom to be ourselves, to choose our company wisely, and to embrace the simple beauty of each day. If you found yourself pulling back, know that it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. You are not alone in this journey. We are all learning together to live a life that feels truer, quieter, and infinitely more meaningful. Embracing this chapter of life. In our youth, we are taught to chase success, to chase approval, to chase a future that always seems just out of reach. We rush through life as though it is a race, always looking forward to the next milestone, the next opportunity, the next chapter. But as the years pass, we begin to see life differently. We stop chasing and start reflecting. We stop proving ourselves and start accepting who we are. This stage of life What many call our golden years is not an ending. It's a beginning. It's a chapter filled with a freedom we couldn't have imagined in our younger days. It's the freedom to live for ourselves, to let go of the pressures and expectations we carried for so long, and to embrace the simplicity of the present moment. I used to believe that life was defined by its busyness, by how much I could accomplish and how many people I could please. But now I see that life's richness isn't found in doing. It's found in being. It's found in the quiet moments of joy, the heartfelt conversations, and the comfort of knowing you've lived a life filled with meaning. Reflection has become one of my greatest comforts. I look back at the life I've lived, the victories and the failures, the moments of pure happiness and the moments of deep pain, and I see it all as part of my journey. Every experience has shaped me into the person I am today. I no longer dwell on the mistakes I made or the opportunities I missed. Instead, I honor them as lessons, as threads woven into the fabric of my life. But this chapter is not just about looking back, it's also about looking forward. There is still time to create, to learn, to explore, and to grow. There is still time to nurture the relationships that matter most, to try something new, to enjoy the simple pleasures we once rushed past. Whether it's tending a garden, writing a letter to an old friend, or sitting in the sun with a book, these small intentional moments have a beauty that feels deeper than anything I knew before. In this chapter, I've learned to embrace authenticity. I no longer feel the need to pretend or to prove anything to anyone. I've let go of the fear of judgment and the need for approval. Instead, I live as the truest version of myself, imperfect but content. There is a certain kind of peace that comes with knowing you no longer have to carry the weight of the world. This stage of life is not about how much we do or how much we achieve. It's about how fully we live. It's about slowing down, appreciating what we have, and choosing to focus on what truly matters. It's about finding joy in the ordinary and seeing beauty in the simplicity of each day. It's about letting go of the noise, the expectations, and the things that no longer serve us, and holding tightly to the things that bring us peace, purpose, and love. If you find yourself in this chapter of life, I encourage you to embrace it fully. Let go of the rush, the worry, and the need to be everything for everyone. This is your time to live intentionally, to fill your days with meaning, and to savor the quiet moments that make life so beautiful. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. Sometimes, the most profound joys are found in the simplest things. The warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of a loved one's voice, or the peace of sitting in silence with nothing but your thoughts. This chapter of life is yours to write. Make it one of authenticity, gratitude, and deep contentment. Because when you embrace this season, when you stop chasing and start appreciating, you discover that this chapter might just be the most beautiful one yet. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.